Hi everyone, welcome to my interactive systems prototype and demo video to explain it, show it off and everything. Hopefully you should see the capture on my phone right now and everything on my computer as well, so you'll be able to get a good idea of how the actual user interface works in conjunction with Ableton and Wekinator and everything else involved with that. So I'll start off by going through the actual phone app, or TouchOSC interface. At the top you've got the start stop button. That's pretty simple, you know, you press start and it'll start the basic interface, or it'll start at least the set in the first couple clips there. You press stop, it'll do the same thing, just stop the playback. When I was aiming to make the actual assignment, had user experience in mind a lot, trying to make it as accessible to people who maybe aren't, don't play any instruments or don't, use music or listen to music all that much. So the user interface I've just tried to make as simple as possible, which is why there's basically just 7 main circular buttons in the middle there. So each of those corresponds to a different track or instrument. Obviously you've got drums, piano, bass, vocals, keyboard, etc. Arpeggiator. In the middle I've got a select all button, which I'll come back to. But basically each of those, if I press or just tap on the drums, you'll see there in Ableton, just here, that it's being muted and unmuted. It's got a little bit of delay, which is something I'd hope to fix in future, but it's a fairly simple fix anyway. Either way, so yeah, that works for each of those instruments there. I'll just press the arpeggiator one, I'll press the piano one now, you can see it's muting. Same with the vocals over here, that's a group, so that's going to be all 4 of those tracks there. But yeah, each of those, basically if you tap it, it'll mute and unmute the track. So let's re-enable the piano and the arpeggiator. One thing as well with the whole user experience thing is I wanted, in the vein of keeping it as simple as possible, I wanted to have it like that one button does multiple things or multiple functions. So if you just tap it, it'll mute. But if you press and hold, what it'll enable is it will enable it to start changing the parameters or properties of the instrument based on your tilt. So I'm going to press and hold the keyboard button, and you can see from this mouse wheel I've set down here that I'm tilting my phone forward. I've got the forward tilt there, I'm tilting it to the left, I've got left tilt to the right and to the back. So basically if you tap and hold on any instrument, it'll start affecting the parameters of it, which I've mapped to some of these macros for the dark chord piano here. Once I let go of it, I'll tilt it to the back and right, I can let go, and then those parameters will stay as they are. So then I can press it again, just tap it, and it'll disable, reset everything here. So that's one thing that I've actually quite liked about what I've made so far, is that you kind of get this like multiple functionality from just the one button. And you can do that with multiple instruments at the same time as well. So if I hold and tap and hold the keyboard and piano button, you'll see that the tilt controller there is showing that it's working for the piano, or the keyboard, and then also it's also affecting the piano right now. Now the select all button basically is just the exact same thing. It's just you have to press hold it and it will start allowing all the tracks to be affected at once. So you can see if I go into each of these, it'll affect all of them at once as well. That's pretty much it for the instrument buttons there. At the bottom as well, I have a chorus switch. I couldn't really think of a better name for it, that's what I'm calling it now. All that really does is if I start playback here, I'm going to mute my vocals because I've got terrible singing in this song. Basically, if I just, right now I've got through these clips, before I get to that, there's actually one more function for the instrument buttons. If I press and hold on a button and shake my phone, so I'm going to press and hold on the drums and I'm going to shake it, you'll see there that it's just changed to this medium hat. So what basically it is doing, it is changing intensity. So right now, it's gone from calm to medium intensity, and if I press and select all of them and I shake it, you'll see that it's going to start doing it for everything at once. So that way you get like not only different parameters for those instruments, but you're also affecting how the actual composition is by just checking your phone, changing the intensity, that kind of thing. So now back to the chorus button, sorry. If I press the chorus button, what will happen is you see it's toggled on my screen. Once this verse has actually completed, so it's a 16 bar verse, once the verse loop has completed, it will then switch from these 3 clips here, which are different intensities for the verse, to these 3, and it will retain the current settings and intensity for those as well. So should be just another bar, and it should start launching those. Yeah, there we go. And then basically it's now switched to the chorus. So that's another way people can affect the set. If I let go of the chorus button now on my phone, it'll basically just do the same thing again, where it will run through the loop for the chorus. I can shake the phone, change maybe bass intensity and drums. It'll go calmer. I can make the up pitch here better. There we go. So then that's going to go back to doing the verse. Same intensity for each of those as well. And that is pretty much it. That's the entire thing so far. I'm going to stop it so I can explain a couple more things in depth. That's the user experience and the basic functions. I'm going to go to my actual Max for Live sets as well to explain the process for it. So one thing, first of all, is that I'm using a Wekinator to control the tilt parameters here. So what I've got open here is just each of these tracks has this tilt controller in it. All these are identical apart from the fact that they each are going to use their own completely different track ID based on the live object model. And all I've really done is open this drum controller so we can have a better look of it. This is what it looks like in presentation mode. You can press those buttons to map them to different parameters, that kind of thing. If I go out of presentation mode, really all it is I've got this receive for the drum button on my phone. That's going from TouchOSC. If I actually exit out of that, you should be able to see it on my phone as well. If I go to drums button, go there. You see it's got the name drums, tag drums, and right now it's just basically sending on values, I think touch, yeah. So it'll basically just send a value, here we go, sorry, messages, this is what I'm looking for. It's basically just sending a value for the address / name, so because the name's drums, it's sending it to /drums, which I'm receiving in Ableton in my main OSC interface here, which I'll show you now. Basically all this is displaying is my TouchOSC output and then my Wekinator output here. All I'm really doing is routing the accelerometer data to Wekinator over here, and then the rest of the data is coming through here and then being routed to each specific button. So I've got the drums button routed there, piano, keyboard, bass, arp, vocals. This is the route for the start and stop switch. This over here is the route for the chorus switch. All this really is just logic showing that at the end of the loop that it'll switch to the chorus instead of halfway through. Yeah, because you wouldn't want that to happen just halfway through the verse. It starts doing the chorus. And then that one's for the select all button as well. So if I go, I've got Wekinator open here as well. You can see if I press play again on my phone, it'll start doing the Wekinator output again. Just the same thing as normal. That's being sent back to Max for Live, which is going into my different sends here for my forward, left, right, and back data. So they're all being sent individually to an appropriate control here. This is all basically just the exact same thing, just with different receives for the different left, right buttons. Another thing I've got here, this little patcher. So when you, I'll demonstrate this here. This is being sent directly from my phone. If I press the drums button, it'll give a 1. If I tap it, otherwise it'll just bang it. So basically, in order to determine whether it's being held or it's being tapped, so that I know whether or not to mute the track or to keep the track unmuted and instead affect the parameters, I've got this patch here is held. So basically it's just coming through here. If it's got a 1, it's going to pipe it through itself. It's got a little if statement here. Basically just saying that if it is receiving a second 1, oh, I think it's stopped responding. That's perfect timing. Classic Max for Life. Anyway, all this is really saying is that if it receives a second input, well, a second number, basically a few seconds, or if it keeps the same number rather for a few seconds after it's initially been displayed, then it will route the toggle as normal. Otherwise, if we get a 0, a 1, and then a 0 really quickly, under 700 milliseconds is what I've written out here, just as through testing really, it'll instead send a bang to this, which will toggle a mute for the track. All this is just, live path things, getting the current track and then slicing it so that we just get the track by itself. Yeah, that's Max for Life crashing completely. That's really pretty much it. I can't think of anything else other than that right now. The select all function's the same. All it really does is it's just sending it directly to this toggle. You can actually see it in the is held, even though it's grayed out slightly there. The all is just going directly to the toggle. The only other thing being, well, Max for Life's complete crash, so I guess I'll wrap that up there. Perfect time to talk about improvements for my future development. I think the main thing I wanted to do really was just add more complexity to it. There were a lot of ideas that I initially had that either just didn't happen because of time constraints, it being a mid-semester assignment and everything, or just because of my lack of knowledge of TouchOSC and how to actually create UI for it. So one thing I really wanted to do was, on the app, when you press the button, like I'm doing now, it would what's the word I'm looking for, pulse that same color in the background. So if I press this one because it's green, it's going to pulse green, so that you get at least a bit of user feedback that you're pressing the button. Or maybe have a different effect as well for when you're holding it, so that you know that the parameters are being affected rather than being muted. So that was one thing. Other user feedback in general was something I wanted to do, a lot of vibration, that kind of thing. Another idea as well, in terms of adding more complexity to it, I had an idea where perhaps you could swipe up from perhaps a drums instrument to enable you to select a whole bunch of different instruments, so that you have a completely unique song each time as well. And I didn't get around to using much MIDI data in this assignment, unfortunately, but that would have been also good if you could maybe even select the key or something like that, where down the bottom you had a couple different buttons for C# or something like that, or just a slider. So then that way you could affect the key as well, so that you'd have a just completely different song each time. But yeah, all of that requires either much greater knowledge of TouchOSC protocol, or at least just creating an app by itself, which I do not have any knowledge about. So that's something that could be considered for future development. But either way, I think Ableton has also crashed now, showing my background. There we go. So I'll wrap that up there. Thanks for watching my demo. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and yeah, hopefully it's been something that you can take a bit of inspiration from, maybe in terms of making something in future. Not sure, but either way I'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching.